Okay, we are live. We are going to be unboxing the final box in Hunt a Killer. Are you guys ready to find out who the killer is? Because I am so ready. Oh my Lanta, you guys. So ready. I'm so ready. Okay, so if you'll remember, I think it's George Erickson. No, yeah, I think it's George Erickson. I think he's the killer, but I don't know. Oh, okay. So there's like a little card here where you can like find hints, but they have one of these in like every box, and I don't guess I ever like looked at the back of it. Like there's like a scratch off thing where you can find a website that'll tell you the hints, but I didn't know. It's more fun to just figure it out on my own. I don't know. All right, so we've got an enamel pin that's like I think it's like a Michelangelo sculpture with like blood on it. I don't know. That's cool. Anyway, let's get into this because I want to find out who the stinking killer was. Don't you guys? I do. Okay, we've got two packets here. One from Gray Investigations, which is supposed to be who like we worked for. So maybe we should open that one first. I don't know. Is there ever a rhyme or reason to these videos? No, there's not. I'm just a big old mess. What is... Okay. This is just advertising the next box in the murder mystery category, but we're not doing that. I actually canceled the murder mystery subscription plan, and we are now on the horror plan. So once spooky season hits, we're going to be solving horror. And the first storyline in that one is the Blair Witch, which, if you guys have been watching these videos, you know I love the Blair Witch movie. So very, very excited for that. And we should be getting that either end of this month or like beginning of next month. I should be getting that box. So we'll be starting soon. And I just threw that. I just yeeted it right across the room. Can you see that? Not across the room. I can still reach it. Like still. I'm just trying to open it, man. Oh, I need one of those like little letter opener knife thingies, but then I'll look like the killer. Dun dun dun. Okay, so we've got. Is that blood on the letter? Are you seeing this? Ooh, what? There's some tea. There's some tea. There is some tea. How many times can I say that? Is that everything? Oh, there's something in the bottom. What's in the bottom? What do we got going on? It's clanky. It's a key. Oh, there's a lockbox. Remember there was a thing about a lockbox and like they were going to install it themselves? Now what is this though? What? What did I just find? Okay. That's exciting. I don't know what's happening, but let's find out. Okay. Let's read. And I just dropped something. What was that? Is that important? Probably. Okay. Good grief. Anything else that might fall out of here? You. Sorry. I just saw a picture of something that's going to be really funny. You're going to enjoy that. Okay. Hi again. When I first reached out to you, I knew what I was asking wasn't easy. The police pretty much gave up right from the start, but you never did. I couldn't have figured out even a fraction as much as you if I had been working on my own. Besides all the codes you've cracked and suspects you've eliminated, you've changed how I see this theater and my family. Not always for the better, admittedly. Remember, her grandmother could also be the killer. But I'd rather know the truth, no matter how painful it is. I hate the thought that we might run out of time before you're able to find Viola's killer, but the board's waiting period is almost over. In a few weeks, I'll be out of a job. The Cadence will be torn down, and our only chance at finding justice for Viola will be gone too. If we're going to solve this case, it has to be now. Let's go! I've been trying to think of ways to help you narrow our 3 remaining suspects down. Remember, the suspects are her mother, Olga, her friend who started hooking up with her baby daddy. What's her name? Oh my gosh. Grace Adler? Anyway. Her and then George Erickson are the 3 suspects. Evelyn, not Grace. Evelyn. I've dug up plenty of information about Evelyn's life after Viola died because it's all right there in the family scrapbooks and theater records. But I realized that if I really wanted to make myself useful, I'd have to extend my research beyond the Cadence's basement. So I've been looking into what our other 2 suspects were up to during that time as well. I found some details about Olga's later years that may be helpful. I also tracked down a few surviving members of the Erickson family on the off chance that they might still have some of George's belongings. We'll see what comes of it. Maybe nothing. After all, not everyone hangs on to family keepsakes as tightly as we Adlers do. I've still got plenty to share with you from the Cadence's storage closets, though. Don't worry. Ironically, all the cleaning I've been doing in preparation for the theater's sale has turned up a lot of good evidence. Believe it or not, I even found the matching cufflink to the one I discovered up in the attic. That's what this is. This is the cufflink that was found in the attic underneath the trunk with the dead body. Okay. I've never seen a cufflink before. Can you believe that? It was at the bottom of a box of miscellaneous junk, so I unfortunately still don't have any idea who it belonged to, but maybe the engraving on the back will give you some clue. It says 16. Interesting. Speaking of accessories, I took a copy of that jewelry inventory I shared with you to an appraiser. The same family that assessed Viola's jewels in the 1930s is still in the business. Would you believe it? Anyway, I asked them to give me their best guess as to how much Viola's jewelry might have appreciated in the past 80 years, and was floored by their estimate. That news certainly fanned the flames of my little treasure hunt, let me tell you. I haven't had much luck yet on that front, but I'm not giving up. I had an idea, though, that I think might help narrow down where to look. Remember how there was a key listed among the effects on Viola's remains? What if she was planning to access her lockbox the night she was killed? I wonder if that's the key that we have then. I managed to sweet talk my friendly neighborhood forensic anthropologist into bending a few more rules for me. I had to call in a bunch of favors to get front row tickets to an extremely sold out show, but it was worth it because she sent me the key. It's been sterilized, I promise. Now that I have it, I'm pretty sure it's too big to fit a lockbox, but it does look familiar. It doesn't match any of the keys we use in the Cadence now, but obviously we changed the lock since the 30s, so who knows? I'm going to keep looking until the board drags me out of here. I won't leave this building before we've uncovered everything we can. I don't want all our hard work to have been for nothing. We're so close now. So this was our last shot. The password to the virtual desktop is still Porter, and the new password to the case folder is Berlin. When you know who killed Viola, send me a message through the email shortcut in the virtual desktop. Put proof in the subject line and type the full name of the killer in the body of your message. If you have any ideas about where I should look next for Viola's treasure, add the location you want me to search in the bottom of your message as well. I know you can do it. I'll be waiting to hear from you. Okay, so let's dive on in then and see who we think the killer was. Oh, I can't wait to solve this, you guys. Okay, so first we have the appraisal. Ms. Adler, at your request, I have researched the jewelry enumerated in the inventory you provided and have estimated an appraisal for the current fair market value to the best of my ability. This appraisal covers all jewelry and loose gems detailed in the report you submitted. Any matching sets have been valued together in a total sum after valuing each individual piece. Valuation and price estimation consider the following factors: age, cut, clarity, color, weight, and carat value. Given the limited information available for the purposes of this assessment, I have assumed the jewelry is genuine and have estimated information where possible. The total estimated value of the jewelry is $16,452,000. Holy cow. It is my opinion that should this jewelry be recovered, it could be sold at auction for a moderately higher price than the aforementioned estimated value if Viola Vane's previous ownership were definitively established. So, okay, it's worth $16.5 million, but you could get a higher price if you're like, this was Viola Vane's. Ooh, wow. Payday. Right, Bud? He agrees. Payday. It's a lot of dog treats, huh? Yeah. He'd be very excited about that. It is my opinion that should this jewelry be recovered. Okay, I just read that. Okay, that's that. Oh, look at this. Look at oh, isn't she a stunner? Okay. So this is a police report. Does not give the date of when it, okay, recorded November 10th, 1952. So this is like 20, well, not 20 years, but 20-ish years after her disappearance. Name of offender, Olga Gaina, residence, Hell's Kitchen, New York City, birthplace, Flamanzi, Romania, date of birth, 8/15/1885. Born Romanian, naturalized American. Composure, disheveled. Age 67, build medium, height 5'7", complexion fair, eyes brown, weight 150 pounds, hair gray brown. Identifying characteristics, walks with assistance of a cane. Oh, this is a rap sheet. Okay. So in March 6, 1931, she was arrested for assault. Notes, daughter has declined to press charges. So she was arrested for beating Viola. In June 6, 1932, possession of alcohol, resisting arrest. Arrested with several others at illegal speakeasy. Oh my God. Olga she was a little crackerjack, wasn't she? Okay. November 1932, public intoxication, assault, possession of alcohol. Daughter has declined to press charges. So again, she was drunk and beating up Viola. That's lovely. October 1932, destruction of public property, disturbing the peace, possession of alcohol, resisting arrest. Good Lord, this woman has a rap sheet. Okay. May 1933, vandalism, public intoxication. July 1944. Oh, she went 11 years without getting arrested. Good for her. Public intoxication, assault, placed in overnight holding, released the following morning. Then September 1945, public intoxication, vandalism, placed in overnight holding, released the following morning as clemency for VJ Day. What's VJ Day? I don't know what that is. Meh. What is VJ Day? I don't know. Okay. September 1946. Oh, she went a year. She went a year without being arrested. That's beautiful. Public intoxication, disturbing the peace. Fine of $25. Okay. I mean, I guess 1940s, $25 was a lot of, money. Victory in Japan. Okay, February 1948, public menace, assault, vandalism. Required to undergo mandatory rehabilitation program. It's about time. Good Lord. January 1950, drunk and disorderly conduct resisting arrest. November 1952, public menace, drunk and disorderly conduct resisting arrest, assaulting an officer. She really liked to just get drunk and beat up people, didn't she? That was just that was a good time. Oh, okay. That makes sense because like World War II. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, interesting. I was like Valentine's Day, but what's the J? I don't. Okay, so now we have a manuscript of a memoir. Who's it from though? Okay, we're gonna find out. It says Ira and Evelyn thought I should run this chapter of my memoir by the two of you before sending it to my editor. If you don't want this information to be made public just yet, simply say the word and I'll strike it from the manuscript. So I'm going to assume that this is the ex-fiance. After a few chaotic weeks of handling a ghoulishly delighted press, placating my ex-fiance's furious mother, and unsuccessfully attempting to reclaim our catering deposit, I more or less managed to set aside the specter of my failed engagement to Viola, okay, and settle back into old routines. She and I would show up to the Cadence 5 days a week, perform duo, take some time to discuss what went well and what we could improve upon the next night, and go our separate ways. Once or twice, we made some time to grab dinner and drinks. It looked as though the remainder of Duo was on track to run its course smoothly. That was until one fateful day in March when Viola pulled me aside less than 15 minutes before opening curtain and frantically whispered to me that she was in the family way. My initial response was a rather indelicate guffaw. I had assumed that she was telling an uncharacteristically cruel joke, but the look in her eyes told me otherwise in an instant. Of course, there was no possibility the child was mine. Per the terms of our initial arrangement, as well as my lack of inclination toward women. He was a gay, she was a beard. Oh my god. This is wild. The occasion was to create a child had never arisen between the two of us, so to speak. There was only one man who could have fathered her unborn burden. She was pregnant, yeah. We found out, I can't remember if it was the last box or the box before that, she had a secret baby with the director who dumped her and got with Evelyn. So there's a secret baby living off in like Connecticut that nobody knows about except for Hector and the baby daddy and the nanny. I had known about her dalliance with our director Ira. Their affair was the reason Viola broke off our engagement. Not to be with him, but rather because he broke things off with her to be with her understudy, Evelyn. Viola realized when that happened that our publicity stunt of an engagement would forever preclude her from forming the kind of relationship she truly wanted. I was certainly sympathetic to her plight. Evelyn, the poor dear, had no clue about any of this at the time. Viola and Ira had both kept their former romance a secret from her. Viola out of shame and Ira out of an interest in avoiding conflict amongst his cast. Maybe don't sleep with all the females in your cast. Just throwing that out there. Just, messy. I asked Viola that night if Ira knew about his child, and she told me that she had not told him. Ooh, secret baby. That night, I performed my role as Maximilian with my characteristically unshakable charisma and panache. The critics called that particular performance a light with the arrogant affability of an advanced actor, but on the inside, I was abuzz with anxiety. After the show, Viola and I went back to my apartment to have a long and serious talk about both of our futures, during which she nervously clutched a cup of herbal tea and drank two of my finer bottles of Cabernet. At first, I danced around asking the question of the hour, did this mean we had to rekindle our engagement? Viola was adamant about keeping the child, but being an unwed mother would almost certainly destroy her career. A marriage within the next month or so could provide a serviceable explanation for the child's existence. Plus, the papers would eat it up. But we were both past wanting our private lives to be objects of public consumption, and as it turned out, Viola had already formed a plan. Viola revealed to me that prior to breaking off our engagement, she had devised a plan to run away and start a new life. She was tired of being controlled by others, her mother, George, and even Ira, and myself to some extent. She had never even been particularly interested in acting. It was just a path she'd always been taken because other people were telling her to do so. Viola had been gradually draining her considerable bank account and converting the cash into material goods, jewelry to be specific, due to its portability and the possibility that it could increase in value over time. She's been hiding them in a secure location within the Cadence, right under her mother's nose. The plan was to leave town after she fulfilled her contract with George. It's far less risky to go on the run if someone isn't trying to track you down for breach of contract, after all. I was perhaps selfishly happy to learn of her chosen time frame. Evelyn was a delight to work with, but there was something of a magical connection that awoke between Viola and I when we shared the stage. Not to mention that if Viola were truly going to vanish into the ether, I wanted the chance to tread the boards with her one last time during You Can Leave It Right Here, the next show George was planning on putting up. The child presented a complication in that plan, but not one that couldn't be overcome. Viola was confident that the money she had stored up would more than cover the both of them. Plus, she saw the motherhood as an opportunity to do right by child in all of the ways her mother had never done right by her, even if she had to do it alone. Perhaps, especially if she had to do it alone. Viola Vane, as strong and capable as she was, had never once in her life been trusted to stand on her own 2 feet. Her life was all a never-ending succession of her mother and managers and directors and scene partners all propping her up. Raising this child would be, in her eyes, a chance to finally prove to herself that she could be her own person. There was one way, however, that she needed me to provide some assistance at the time. If we faked an illness and kept her out of the public eye for a few months, she could still perform in You Can Leave It Right Here. Evelyn was more than capable of finishing out the strange duo for her, after all, and duo had already become successful in its own right, no longer needing Viola's image to sell it. All she needed was a place to stay and some hired help to watch her child once she returned to the stage. As a successful actor and heir to the Eastern Boundary Railroad fortune, I was more than capable of providing those things to her. It seemed to us like a winning situation all around. So he had, like, railroad money. Ooh! And that's how it came to be that less than a month after insisting to me she couldn't imagine starting a life together, Viola Vane moved into my estate in New Canaan. Her mother and the Ericksons had no knowledge of where she'd gone besides a rest cure facility. Olga and George were none too happy about that, but I managed to talk them down. The only remaining question was whether to inform the child's father. I insisted that Ira had to be told about his child at some point. And eventually, Viola reluctantly agreed. We came to the compromise that she would be allowed to tell him in her own time, and she would leave it up to him to inform Evelyn. Without further ado, our plan was put into motion. Viola packed her things, ran Evelyn through the nuances of her role in duo, and notified George of her impending absence. I made contact with 2 very fine and discreet professionals, a physician who would make periodic house calls throughout the process, and a live-in nurse named Lucy. The former and I became quite close during that period, actually, and have remained close through the decades since. He's currently in the library organizing our scrapbook collection. He found love. That's beautiful. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to Viola and her progeny. The pregnancy and birth went smoothly, save for a pervasive series of cravings Viola developed for roasted pork knuckle. Ew. Evelyn ended up delivering a phenomenal performance as my co-star in duo. Life had again settled into a comfortable routine. Once Viola returned to Manhattan, however, leaving her child in New Canaan under Lucy's watchful eye, things quickly soured. Frustrations had been forming under the surface for 3 key players. That night I performed... Oh, I read that already. Evelyn was resentful of the fact that she was about to be replaced, even after putting in such hard work and proving herself. She had gotten her moment in the spotlight, and she felt as though she was being shoved unceremoniously back into the wings. Was she mad enough to murder? George was frustrated with the way Viola had put the financial success of his theater in jeopardy by disappearing as his star. He had invested much of his dwindling capital in her, and she had been quick to leave at the height of Cadence's success. Olga was furious that her daughter had defied her so blatantly and formed a new streak of independence. She would often lash out at Viola during those days, mostly verbally, but sometimes physically. Something had to give, and the first person to break was Olga. She attacked Viola so viciously that day during rehearsal in front of all of us. After helping cast Olga onto the street, I left without so much as checking on Viola. I regret my carelessness to this day because that was the last time I ever saw her. The next time I walked into my new Cannon home, it was with the full expectation of returning to life as a bachelor. That Viola had decided to put her plan into motion early. However, I entered to find Viola's child, Julian, in the parlor. Lucy had no sign of Viola herself. I couldn't believe that Viola would have run off without her child, not after fighting so hard to keep him, and not after looking at him the way I'd seen her look at him. As much as I hated to think of the alternative, I had to assume that something terrible had happened to her that night. Unfortunately, there was no real time to look into the possibility I had an infant to deal with first. I soon realized that I couldn't possibly raise a child in the long term, even with hired help. I had plans to transfer all my talents to Hollywood. Besides, the child belonged with his father. Thankfully, the father and his new bride-to-be ultimately decided to take on the responsibility. Right before I moved to Hollywood for my first big picture, I left the two of them with a holiday gift in the form of a cash deposit that would take care of the child, and then some. They ended up using the and then some to fund their dream and buy the Cadence Theater, which remains in the family to this day. Meanwhile, I'm making my mark on the West Coast. And then they wrote here on the bottom, "Thank you for checking with us. I don't think it's the right time, old friend. Agreed, we haven't even told Jay yet," which would be Julian. So Julian doesn't even know that that's not his mom. I bet Julian is the father of the current theater owner. So like oh my lord, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so we have a newspaper clipping here. There's a horse heist on the Upper East Side. An intoxicated man attempted to steal a horse-drawn carriage in Carnegie Hill, leaping into the carriage while its driver was securing a new fare. Fortunately, police apprehended the man when the horse, Lieutenant Durango, simply stopped in the middle of Madison Avenue to eat some grass. You go, horsey. Waterfront worries, East River. Fire crews protected the eastern docks from a flaming ship. The vessel's blades raged so out of control that it had to be pushed out into the East River before it could damage anything else. The shipping vessel was considered derelict, and Harbor Patrol expects salvage efforts to resume in the morning. No one was harmed, but foul play has not been ruled out. Broadway blunder. A scuffle in the theater district resulted in one woman's arrest. Witnesses reported a woman shouting erratically while attempting to break into a theatrical establishment. The woman resisted arrest, striking officers who arrived on the scene, and sustained an injury to her leg in the course of the arrest. I wonder if that was Olga. So, okay, when she tried to attack Viola, they kicked her out of the theater. I remember when Hector was leaving, she was still banging on the door trying to get back in because they locked her out. So she got arrested, apparently, after that. So she can't be the killer because she didn't get back in. She was taken off to jail. So she can be ruled out then. That's good. So now it's down to George Erickson, who I think did it, and Evelyn. A woman had to be rescued from choking during a dinner at the Excelsior Hotel. A surprise proposal went awry when the fiancé-to-be accidentally choked on the ring hidden in her celebratory drink. Thankfully, there was a doctor present who managed to prevent the woman from coming to harm. Happily, she still said yes. Now, I think that was Evelyn, because remember, Ira was on the phone while the murder happened, because he had like specific plans or whatever that he wanted at the hotel or whatever. And then they went to the hotel afterwards, and it was like under like a pseudonym, but it was totally him. Like everything that happened was like what he described happening. But like it said that a woman choked that was like on his entry. So I'm gonna say that's where he proposed to Evelyn, and she choked on the ring. That's embarrassing. Woo. Okay. So here we have a cab fare card. The night of the murder at 6:08 p.m. to Evelyn Kittredge. So she left like right around 6, like so that I'm right. I'm stinking right. It's George Erickson. It's George. By George. I'm telling you. Okay. Oh, I'm so smart. I mean, I don't know for sure that is George, but I think it's George. Oh, great. We have another coded letter. Yay. Okay, let me see if I can figure this out. But I think it's safe to say George was the murderer, right? We all agree? Great. Glad we had this talk. All right. Can't we wait until later to discuss this further? You expect me to just continue rehearsing after what? Something, something, something. Okay, it's like the vowels are taken out and everything's backwards. So I'm probably going to have to sit down and figure this out. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to read this. Okay, and then on the back of it, we have some notes. Add Lidecler and DeWitt to, you can leave it right here. Previews press list. Luncheon with Roderick Tuesday. Ask Joe about UC spot in third act. Auditions for new understudy. Hector's entrance in My Lovely Girl, still early. Fix those hideous hats. Return Avery M's call. Interview next week. Ask Lorenz about key change for Hand in Hand. Review Nobody But You solo with Evelyn. Check on chorus costumes. What is taking so long? Changes to Gloria's finale choreo. Wagner's new play is good. Maybe time for a change next season? Question mark. So that sounds like something Joe would write. I don't know. Let's get to this blood-stained letter, shall we? And it's coded too. Lovely. Okay. If you find this letter confusing, remember Mother's ring. She once said a wedding ring's true meaning was the sum of the year you've spent with your betrothed. Interesting. Hearing her say that shifted my thinking about love. So the code is going to have to be like shifted. I wish the past year of my life had been happy as her first year with my late father. Instead, it's been a nightmare. Today's events may have finally broken me. Oh! Okay, so before she got murdered, she wrote this. And the blood stains are from when she got smacked in the head. Oh my god. Okay, well that's exciting, but also like tragic. As if being attacked by something, but I'm going to say it was Mother, for failing to call her when I arrived at the theater weren't bad enough. I was castigated. What? I'm not sure what that word is. It looks like castigated, but that's not a word. By someone just now for not fee fi fo fum. She doesn't understand how hard it is to find the right words when anything you say will hurt someone you care about. For her sake, I hope she never has to find out. I thought I could stay to blah, 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 blah. But today's events have made it clear it's time for me to leave. Okay. I can't keep making excuses when something, watching something, make eyes at one of my best friends. Okay, I'm going to say I miss Julian probably so much it her aches. I belong with him and I can't keep pretending he doesn't exist. For his sake. I need you to help me coded. Wow, that's like a whole paragraph coded. Tomorrow night. And then more code a few days ago. After that, I'll go to New Cannon and pick up Julian. I'll contact you once I've set myself up somewhere. Julian will never be found, I think. I don't know. Don't try to talk me out of this again, all right? We'll be fine. Whole bunch of coding. For the first time in my life, I'm going to be free. Not only that, but I can endure that blank will enjoy the freedom I never had growing up. I'm nervous about what blank is going to say when I tell him tonight, since I know he's worked hard to center the publicity of You Can Leave It Right Here around me. But I think I can get him to understand. He's always had a bit of a sweet spot for me. So she told George, I'm leaving. I'm not doing the next play. I have a baby and I'm going to go stay with my baby. And he killed her. Period. That's what happened. Oh my gosh. You guys. This is wild. Like, I'm still going to decode these and I'll do a follow-up to let you guys know, like, what they said. But I think that's basically the gist is, like, she wanted out of her contract a little early because, you know, baby. And he's like, oh no, no, not my future. So, ooh, y'all, I hate being right, but I was so right. Okay. Well, that's this. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And like I said, our next box is going to be Spooky Yuki. So that's going to be fun. And yeah, I'll do a follow-up and let you guys know what all that coded letter nonsense was. And if I figure out where the hidden treasure of her jewels was. But like, George was the killer. I was right. I was right. I'm amazing. Okay. Love you guys so much. Bye.